let's talk about cartoons. Or cartoons or animated television shows. I'll say that. Yeah, I wanted to talk about cartoons and why we love them. I wanted to talk about cartoons that I watched as a child and loved, and the ones that I hated and was absolutely upset and triggered by. Yeah, and also wanted to talk about the ones that I'm watching now, as well as the cartoons I will never watch again. So yeah, if you're into that and you want to talk about cartoons with me, let's do it. I've got my notes, so let's get into it. Cartoons for me are definitely a way to connect to my inner child. Not to get too woo about it, but it's more than a way of like decompressing. It's a way of letting myself absolutely get into that, I don't know, childlike headspace, which for me is about curiosity and leads to creativity. So damn sure that watching cartoons is like number one on my leisure time activity list, if that makes any sense. And probably for my whole life, if I'm honest. I started watching cartoons as a child, like everybody else, doing the Saturday morning cartoon thing. And yeah, I definitely remember getting up as early as I possibly could and being really quiet to make myself a bowl of cereal and tiptoeing around the apartment so I wouldn't wake my mom, because I didn't want her to interrupt my television watching. And I feel like for many parents, it's like, oh, I don't want to be interrupted while I'm sleeping. And I was like, no, please sleep away. Let me watch my shows, for God's sake. Back then, I feel like cartoons for me existed of that place between Saturday morning cartoons and The Simpsons. And Saturday morning cartoons happened until Soul Train came on, and The Simpsons happened at night. And there was a while there where I had to even have my bedtime extended on Sundays. Was it Sundays? But I also feel like it was Thursdays. Anyway, to watch The Simpsons. And I remember being introduced to The Simpsons on the Tracy Ullman show, which is how old I am, for what it's worth. For those of you that are not in the know, Tracy Ullman was a white lady comedian that white people found so funny that they let her repeatedly be in blackface on television. Repeatedly. And to this day as well. Feel free to Google Tracy Ullman. Yeah, back then I watched a lot of, I'm trying to think, Fat Albert, Looney Tunes, Muppet Babies for sure. I feel like one of my favorite shows was The Snorks, because I wasn't allowed to watch The Smurfs because the Smurfs had magic, but the Snorks were basically just underwater Smurfs. So that was okay. And I feel like, yeah, there was a Care Bear cartoon, and a Gummy Bear cartoon. Candy marketing back in the day. Oh, and Schoolhouse Rock. Shout out Schoolhouse Rock for educating folks. Oh, we need to bring that back for real. I feel like my young adult era cartoon watching is what I think of as the MTV era. In that the shows that I was watching at that time were Daria. I feel like South Park was popular. Powerpuff Girls was a thing that was happening then. Oh, Futurama, a Simpsons spinoff that actually continues to be one of my comfort shows. I kind of would say that I like Futurama more than I like The Simpsons. Yeah, fight me. What do you think? Simpsons or Futurama? Or both? Or neither? Yeah. I was watching all of those shows then. Shows that I hated? Beavis and Butthead. Why? I don't get it. Its humor was so basic and sad. It was like fart jokes and heavy metal videos. I feel like it was definitely tuned into a particular population that was not me. Also hated shows like Space Ghost and Space Ghost Coast to Coast and Samurai Jack. I don't know. That's not my favorite genre of cartoon. Now, gosh, I watch all of the cartoons, so it's hard to say like what my top 3 even are. I tend to watch shows back to back, on a rotating basis until I learn everything that I possibly can about them. So, I'm doing that right now with Home, which is based on a movie, an animated movie that came out a couple of years ago that had Rihanna in it. Rihanna's not in the cartoon, but the cartoon features a black AFAB lead. I think that she's a tomboy. So I'm not quite sure of her gender. So there's some interesting gender stuff happening, especially with her best friend who is an alien from a planet that has 6 genders. And he's all the time, or actually, he, them is always saying, don't misgender me, and it's adorable. I also love that basically this is low-key autism representation in the character of O, who's the alien. He's very fish out of water in a spectrum-y kind of way. So I'm curious if there are any folks on the spectrum that watch Home, and let me know what you think. Are we seeing representation or stereotyping? I don't know. I'm also really loving Pinky Malinky. He's adorable and wholesome and funny. I am Pinky Malinky. I definitely see myself there. My friend in Canada, Winnipeg, Mel, told me about a Gretchen Suco, which is amazing, and I finished it. And I'm watching it again so that I can really say that I understand it. But yeah, a Gretchen Suco is an unfulfilled office worker who happens to also be a fox, or maybe she's a cat. I can't tell what she is. It's a world in which everyone's an animal. Anyway, so she works in an office. She's unfulfilled in so many different ways, and she does heavy metal, death metal karaoke to release her frustrations in the world. And I'm definitely into that. Shows that I am not loving or loving to hate, fucking Bojack. I love that there is mental health representation on television, and we're talking about hard things, but also how triggering is Bojack to people with mental health issues? How triggering is Bojack to you as a depressed person? How triggering is Princess Caroline to you as a codependent person? Let's talk about that. Also, Steven Universe. It triggers my math brain too hard, and they keep introducing characters, and it is fucking my whole life up. If you're familiar, do you remember the concept of permutations from math class? It was basically like a given set number of objects, and how many different ways could you make combinations out of this set number of objects. Whenever Steven Universe comes on, I start doing permutations. Oh, if you mixed pearl with ruby, you would get this. If you mixed ruby with garnet, you would get this. If you mixed... And I can't. And they keep introducing characters, and so every fucking episode I'm having to do math and recalculate my permutations, and it is stressing me the fuck out. Steven Universe, get it together. No more friends. No more friends, Steven. Anyway, that was my rant. What cartoons are you watching? What cartoons are you loving to hate, hating to love? Are you still watching The Simpsons? Do you find it funny, or is it just an obligation? Or something that you do out of habit? And Simpsons versus Futurama. Who wins? Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye, y'all.